Well, damn, that was a hell of a rumble, and I guess there's only really one word to sum the entire thing up. Yeet!
Hello!
And welcome to Ricky on Wrestling. In this video, we're going to be going over all of my thoughts and feelings from the 2025 Royal Rumble. It was one for the ages. It was a fucking absolutely stacked affair, especially in the men's Rumble. We had the tag, we had the ladder match, we had the women's Rumble as well. We're talking about all of that and going over my thoughts and feelings on the fallout from everything that happened, both in the ring and some stuff that happened behind the scenes. We'll delve a little bit into that. But let's just kick things off with the first match on the card was the women's Royal Rumble. And I think the most important thing to do is to understand what I got right and wrong. If you watch my predictions video, you know that I predicted the 20 undeclared women's spots in the Royal Rumble. I got a lot right. I got a couple of things wrong. Isla Dawn, Alba Fire, Marsha Slamovich, that was a hell of a Hail Mary, but it didn't come off. Becky Lynch, Jade Cargill, and Asuka were all ones that I predicted would be there. They weren't. Flash Legends, Stephanie Vaquer, Trish Stratus, Julia, Raquel Rodriguez, and Nikki Bella was our number 30, which, look, it just personally, not a big fan of the Bella twins, never was. So kind of a letdown for me, but I'm sure there was plenty of people that were excited. And yeah, this was a really, really good women's Royal Rumble. I don't think it's lived up to, a couple of others in the past. I think there's been ones previously that have been better than this one, just from like an in-ring and story perspective. And also going into this, it's kind of obvious, even though I picked Io Sky, that Charlotte Flair was gonna win. It would have been cool if they just did not announce her and she just rocked up as a surprise entrant, but also, build the hype towards her coming back and then she wins. I still don't think she needed to win the Rumble because she can just rock up on Raw or SmackDown and go to the champ and be like, hey, I want the belt. And that's what's going to happen. They're going to have a match. I feel like she's definitely going to go to SmackDown and go after Tiffany Stratton. Still feel like there is room to do Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, but there's also that chance they want to run back the WrestleMania 39 match between Rhea and Charlotte. And look, wouldn't be mad at that, but I also feel like maybe we move on from that and we do something cool. We have Charlotte go and, give the flowers to an up and coming star. I think Tiffany is going to be a mega star in the company. I think she's well on her way to being one. And getting the rub from Charlotte at WrestleMania is pretty much like, if you look at what happened to Rhea Ripley, that sets you up to be a absolute megastar. So I think that's the direction they're still going to go. It might not be Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, but I still feel like Charlotte isn't going to go after Rhea. Some of the cool spots in this one, obviously we had Nia Jax coming in and playing that big monster heel. She did a couple of cool spots with the huge push off and then eliminating a bunch of wrestlers all at once. Trish Stratus coming back, always cool. Nice to see her. Pretty sure she was a heel last time we saw her, but, it doesn't matter. And Roxanne Perez doing the Iron Woman spot, going from pretty early, I think she was like number 3 or pretty early in the Rumble, all the way through to nearly the end, or to the final 2, and nearly getting the win. I think that's a great way to establish her in front of the WWE audience that might not be familiar with her work over on NXT. So yeah, pretty solid Rumble overall. Some cool spots, told some good stories. There's some cool stuff there, obviously, with Jordynne Grace and Naomi. They got that history back in TNA, and Bianca did not like that, so we might be getting something there at WrestleMania. I think Bianca versus Jordynne Grace would be kind of insane match at the Royal Rumble, especially if Jade Cargill isn't cleared or ready, or I don't know what they're doing with her, what the story is there, why she's not on the main roster. Apparently she's at the PC, but who knows at this stage. But yeah, overall, a great showing from the women in the Royal Rumble. The next match on the card was the 2 out of 3 falls tag match between DIY the champs and the Motor City Machine Guns. I had Motor City winning. They did not. They won one fall, if that counts towards anything. But yeah, this was definitely, as I said in my predictions video, pretty truncated, pretty short. Feels like it got, didn't have a lot of time. I don't think it was necessarily cut for time. It just didn't have a lot of time to breathe. This was a 2 out of 3 falls match that only lasted like 14 minutes. So that's the length of a normal match sometimes. So the fact that we managed to get 3 falls in 14 minutes, maybe it was on an episode of WWE Speed on X, the Everything app. But no, this was a match on a major, Big 4 pay-per-view, and really thinking about what happened in this match, it could have been on SmackDown the night before in, 25, 30 minutes in a time slot there. That would have given this a lot more time to breathe, a lot more cool spots to happen. We had DIY getting the first Motor City Machine Guns getting the second pin, and DIY eventually getting the third pin for the win, with some assistance from the Street Profits, who came out and first attacked Motor City Machine Guns, and then after the match attacked DIY. So clearly there are no allegiances here. They just want to get the belts. And this kind of goes back to one of my predictions. It wasn't like a solid prediction. It was just like this might be a direction they're going in, is we're getting like a multi-tag team match at WrestleMania. It could happen at Elimination Chamber, but I feel like they're going to build this up for the next couple of months. And we're going to get like, these three teams plus maybe the Pretty Deadlies in like a ladder match for the tag team titles at WrestleMania. I think that would be a cool thing for all teams to be involved in on the grander stage of them all in a ladder match to show off what they can all really do. So that, I feel like the seeds were kind of planted that in this match. But yeah, overall, it was always going to be a case where one match had to sort of sacrifice its time so the other matches could breathe. And the men's match was actually the longest of all time, including that random 1 year where they did 40 entrants instead of 30. Next up was Ladder War. Ladder War. I said in my prediction video that these guys would go to war, and they did. And it was pretty good. It was pretty awesome. I had a lot of fun with this match. I thought the storytelling was on point. Got across that, hey, maybe Cody isn't the typical good guy. Maybe he's someone who is willing to go to that next level while still maintaining the fact that he is a face, but doing something beyond the realm of what a typical face would do to win a match. That is an interesting route to go down. I don't necessarily think they're turning him heel. I do kind of feel like they're setting up something with him and Sammy. I don't necessarily think that's going to be for WrestleMania. I think whatever that is going to play out in the next few months before Mania. But aside from that, the match itself was everything I kind of expected it to be. It wasn't the big high spot doing flips and stuff off ladders. It was more the using ladders as weapons to take your opponent down and incapacitate them to the point where they can't stop you from climbing the ladder. I'm not too sure what happened with the ladder, whether that was supposed to be a different ladder in the ring that Cody ended up climbing. But man, he got to the top of that thing and it did not look stable at all. I don't know if it was like the belts were too high or something, but he had to get up to like the second to top rung to get those belts down. It looked awkward, and there was a moment there where I'm like, is he gonna fall? Is this gonna happen? The match to me felt like it was also missing one big spot. Felt like it ended just a little, like a beat too early. Again, that could have been a time thing. Like I said, Rumble really fucking long. It just felt like that spot where they're setting up on the table, we get the low blow into the Alabama Slam for Cody to go on and then win the match. Felt like we were like one spot away from this being like a true ladder match classic. This was a solid ladder match from start to finish. There's some brutal spots. The one spot where Owens power bombs him into that ladder that's laid across the ring ropes in the corner. The first angle they showed of that, it looked like it was just Cody's head that hit. It looked brutal. Like in that spot, you're trying to get the upper back, the shoulders, and everything to take the force of the hit. And it just looks like Kevin completely missed. Thankfully, on the replay, they kind of switched the angles and you see Cody got his arm up and it looks like his sort of right shoulder, and that took the majority of the bump. But it did not look fun at all. And that Alabama Slam, I know in the replays and that we saw, yep, safe as hell. Kevin's head went exactly where it was supposed to. He tucked and he was fine. But in the moment, that looked brutal. Great way to finish off. Like I said, probably a spot short of where I would have had the match finish, but a pretty satisfying conclusion nonetheless. However, it has been reported that Cody Rhodes is injured, and whether it's, real or not, it was reported through official WWE channels, which is something that's like, well, this could definitely just be part of the storyline as a way to get him out of any match at the Elimination Chamber. Probably have him just rest up on the sidelines until WrestleMania to just like write him off for a little bit, at least from an in-rings perspective. I think he'll still be on TV every week in the lead up to Mania. But this may just be a way to be like, yeah, look, put him on the bench. Don't let him get hurt between now and Mania because we want him in that Mania main event. And this may just be a way to do that. Although, there's every possibility after a match like that, yeah, dude's hurt. He's in a bit of pain and needs to take some time off. I'm hoping it's not anything that's like, I have to give the belt up. That would suck this close to WrestleMania. And speaking of WrestleMania, we now have an idea for what one of our, I'm going to put this in air quotes, main events is going to be. I kind of feel like as much as I love Jay winning the Rumble, and I want to talk more about that in a sec, him indicating that he's going to go after Gunther for that World Heavyweight title, God, it really feels like he's going to be like one of the openers for either day 1 or 2, or they're going to like, God forbid, stick it mid-card somewhere on either of those days. Because right now, unless this build between now and WrestleMania for that World Heavyweight Championship title is really, really good, I don't see it eclipsing anything that Cody is going to be doing, Roman Reigns is going to be doing, title or not, that CM Punk is going to be doing, title or not. I just don't see that as the main event, which sucks for Jay. And it's really annoying that WWE continue to push this narrative that the winner of the Royal Rumble goes on to main event WrestleMania. Change the wording a little bit. The winner of the Royal Rumble goes on to fight for a championship at WrestleMania, because that is what it legitimately is. It is not a guarantee of the main event, and it kind of hasn't been for a very long time. Like, don't get me wrong, there have been people that have won the Rumble and main evented WrestleMania, but it has not been a consistent thing as long as I can remember. But yeah, now let's just talk about the Rumble. Let's just break it down. This was one of the most stacked Rumbles for a very long time. And it was kind of that tale of two Rumbles we got back in 2020 with Brock Lesnar coming in at number 1 and throwing people out until you get to about that halfway point where he gets eliminated and then the second Rumble begins. This Rumble felt like the first half was, here's a showcase of the next 5 to 10 years of WWE. With younger stars, there was obviously like a couple of older guys in there, Rey Mysterio and that. This was really a showcase of what the company has to offer, and be like, don't worry fans, if you're looking at guys like Cena and Rollins and Reigns, Punk, and understanding that they are over the hump of their career trajectory in WWE. Like, they've been here longer than they're going to be here, if you get my meaning. They're over the halfway point of their time with the company. The future still looks pretty bright. And then the second half of the Rumble was pretty much every major star that doesn't hold a belt right now in WWE that is a legitimate main eventer. And my God, like the last half of this Rumble could have just been every person, pretty much, the exception of a couple, could have a legitimate claim to be in the main event of WrestleMania, the true main event of WrestleMania. And it was just kind of wild. And I figured they would do something like this because, like, first of all, most of the guys I'm talking about are getting up there in years. CM Punk and John Cena especially are getting up there in years. And we saw what happened to Punk last year. He was in the Rumble. He came in pretty late. I think he was in like the last 25 to 30 spots. He was in there, got hurt, missed WrestleMania. Here is, definitely a way to do this where you have all these guys come in late and minimize the risk of them injuring themselves here so that they can actually make it all the way to WrestleMania. But before we move on, let's go through where I got things right and wrong with my Rumble predictions for the 15 spots that were left undeclared. As of my recording time, I believe Santos Escobar and I think Jacob Fatu both declared on SmackDown right before the Rumble, so I didn't know that before I recorded my video. So Solo Sikoa wasn't there. Tama Tonga wasn't there. We didn't really get that Bloodline face-off like I predicted. There was definitely moments between all the Bloodline members that were in the ring at different points throughout the Rumble, but we didn't really get that big, like, is both sides of Good Bloodline and Temu Bloodline facing off and having a big fight. Solo not there at all. Again, coming out of him losing the Ulafala, what does he do next? And I thought the Rumble would be a good indication of that. Turns out I was wrong. No Randy Orton. Very surprised. Omos not there. Braun Strowman was. He got the big man spot. I did not think he was. I thought with all the blood and stuff from Saturday Night's Main Event, he was written off TV. I was very wrong. There was no NXT spot or person to come out. No Ethan Page, no Trick Williams. Nobody. Obafemi, the champ, not there either. Pat McAfee wasn't in the Rumble. The level of self-control it seemed to have taken for them not to put him in the Rumble. In like his, in Indianapolis, where he played in the stadium where he played for the Colts. Nothing. Didn't do it. Wild. But I appreciate it because it didn't take a spot away from a wrestler on the payroll, on the company. And R-Truth was the other one that I didn't get wrong. I didn't have much to say about that. It's a shame that R-Truth didn't get to do something cool. And we can't forget probably the biggest pop of the night, except for Cena coming out and the end of the Rumble, was none other than Joe Hendry. I told you in the goddamn prediction video, I'm like, this will happen. This is what private jets are for. You get in there, you get him back to the Jericho Cruise or whatever the situation was, where it's like, oh, maybe he can't make it. It's like, no. Triple H will make this happen because he knows the people want it. My God. You got to believe in Joe Hendry. He came out, huge pop, crowd goes nuts. It was sick. It was so good. And again, I would have liked him to be in there with Cena. There is a history there that not a lot of people know about, but if you know, you know. And Joe Hendry being in the same ring as John Cena at the same time, I think has to happen in Cena's last year. Don't know how it's going to happen, but again, that partnership with TNA, there is ways to make that happen. I just feel like it's just a tiny little missed opportunity, but I'm still very glad that he got to be in the match and showcase who he is, even briefly, to the wider wrestling audience that don't really know TNA and don't really know who Joe Hendry is. But let's now get to the meat and potatoes of the Royal Rumble, because that's what we're here for. We're here to talk about the last 15 to 20 minutes. This is where everything picked up. This is where you had your big names come out. They did a spot where they all, like, it was like Roman and then Cena and then Punk and then Rollins, and like they all seemed to sort of wait for each other to come and do their entrances and then not touch each other until the clock would start counting down again, because it takes so long with their entrances. And then they're like, oh, we'll just wait. We'll just wait for the next person to get into the ring. It was a bit like, I get what you're doing, but at the same time, I don't know, felt bad for the guys that were having to sleep in the corners of the ring waiting for this to happen. I don't know. I felt like there could have been stuff going on while that was happening, but once we got all of that, yeah, it was just this was the juicy storytelling stuff that we were hoping to get, and there are still so many options coming out of this Rumble. It just added little bits of intrigue, and you're like, are they thinking about doing this? Or are they thinking about doing this? Or, you know, what's the favor? Paul Heyman, he's getting involved. Like, both CM Punk and Seth Rollins seem pissed with Paul at certain points after their elimination. So what's going to happen there? Like, I have my ideas for where they're going for WrestleMania. I might do a whole video of predicting my WrestleMania card just post the Rumble, post what we saw. Nothing from Raw tomorrow night, just purely from what happened at the Rumble. What is my prediction for the WrestleMania card? There was just so much juicy material from that last 20 or so minutes. The direction that they go, there's still multiple directions. I think a lot of them could work really, really well, whether it's singles matches, whether it's multi-person matches. There's just so much to be mined from this collective feud that the top echelon of WWE in the men's division right now is having. It's like you have everyone has a reason to fight everybody, and that is just it is fucking cinema. Also, it would be remiss of me not to mention AJ Styles. He's back. Did not see that coming. Did not have him in my predictions for a return, but AJ Styles is back, and as always, that guy just feels like he is the main event. He belongs in the ring with those guys. He came out relatively late. He was sharing the ring with the likes of Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, John Cena, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and he still feels like he belongs in that echelon. So he's the guy that you can just slot into that main event wherever you need, whatever he does going forward. It's gonna be, you know, main event worthy. He's still the guy. He's still the man. Like, this may be his last year as well. We're not too sure. He's sort of given indications that he's kind of wrapping up his in-ring career, but the guy still feels like $1 million, and he still feels like a main eventer. And throwing him into this sort of main event echelon that we've got happening right now it's good, man. It's good, real good leading into Mania. All right, let's get down to the end of the Royal Rumble. Final four was Punk, Cena, Logan, and Jey Uso. Logan eliminated Punk pretty quickly once the final four was established, and great way to keep the nuclear hit on the guy. I still legitimately don't like Logan Paul. I think he's a dickhead. But from a company standpoint, yeah, that's the one guy you want to eliminate Punk to keep the nuclear heat going. Punk had only just eliminated Seth and Reigns, and that story that they're starting to tell and it's just going to be Seth and Reigns. Like, if that's going to be the one-on-one at Mania, that's heat. That is heat. And seems like Punk was kind of throwing himself into that mix as well. Both Punk and Seth seemed pissed at Paul at certain points. Like, Seth was fucking bearing down on Paul at one point. Like, there's just so much. We don't have an idea really of what all these pieces mean right now. But I'm excited to see the machinations that finally get everything slotted into place for WrestleMania. Because I just feel like it's just going to be some of the best in the world right now doing their best work. Then we have Cena eliminating Logan. Thank God he wasn't in the final two. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, Cena wins. Cena wins. Because that's the thing. It's Cena's going for number 17. Cena wins, lol. We're going back to the Cena wins, lol era one last time, and they got me. I will admit, there was a moment when they're both on the apron fighting each other, and the minute Cena gets him up for the AA, I'm just like, this is it. This is years of conditioning and sitting through the Cena wins, lol era. My brain reverted back to that version of myself from 10 to 15 years ago and was like, yep, Cena wins. And he didn't. And then Jay won. And yeah. Main event, Jey Uso. Yeet. I'm all for it. I'm 100%. Like, this is what the Royal Rumble was in its inception. Like, the idea of it was to give someone who wouldn't necessarily get to the main event on the merit of just winning one-on-one matches into that main event scene, to make them believable as a threat to go to WrestleMania and win the belt. And I feel like WWE kind of lost their way a little bit with that premise in like the Vince era, the late Vince era. You had already established champions, people who had won multiple belts. Seth Rollins winning in 2019. The guy had 2 to 3 world championship runs by then. Randy Orton winning it very late in his career. Batista coming back and winning it. But this is a genuine guy on the precipice of the main event. He's main event Jey Uso. And he's had his chances and he's always just come up a little bit short. But the belief you kind of get as a character after winning the Rumble, it's like, I can take on 29 other guys, win. Then I can take on you. Tend to indicate it's going to be Gunther. I can take on you and I can win because I survived this. That is what the Royal Rumble is and what the Royal Rumble should always be. But there are occasions where, yeah, sure, you can have someone who has already been a champion come back and win it and tell a cool story with that. But the story told of the guy who has tried and not got there, never won a world championship, winning the Rumble and then going on to Mania and finally getting that win, getting that belt. That is the story of the Royal Rumble. That is the story that should be told with the Royal Rumble as the narrative device around which you build a main event superstar. That's what they did with Jey. And that's what it should be. And it was great. And he won and the crowd yeeted and did the thing. You look at that, like I rewatched the Rumble, just the men's Rumble. The reaction when he comes out, the whole crowd is doing the thing. Then when he wins, the whole crowd is doing the thing. And I remember very, very vividly when he came to Raw after the breakdown of the bloodline and everything. And he's a single star now and he's main event Jey Uso. And he gets drafted to Raw, comes out and he's doing the thing. And my first thought was, man, I bet this part of his entrance where he does that, I bet you it lasts like 3 months before the crowd gets sick of it. It's been a year, probably longer, and the crowd is still doing it. And the crowd is still yeeting along and singing along to his theme song and everything. And that is rare in WWE. Like, there's only a couple of things that people do that crowd hangs onto and holds onto and does willingly for a long period of time. The yes chant is one of those things, and it seems like the crowd doing the thing and yeeting along to Jey, that is around for the long term. So the time to strap this boy and solidify him as main event Jey Uso is, and I think they've struck while the iron is at its hottest. Well done. did the right thing. You made the right call. And now Cena has to go through the Elimination Chamber. The struggle continues because the struggle is the story. Good storytelling. Very good shit. I loved it. It was great. Rumble was sick. Men's Rumble was great. Yeah. Wrestling. Fucking let's go. Yeet. I just had to do one last one. Anyway, bye.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know, we keep it lit. Yeah. Appreciate him though, man. But man, my man.